Good morning. Welcome to the assembly. Good afternoon. We're in a little twilight zone here in the building on deadline week after deadline week. But really, it's afternoon, so good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Health and Human Services. Would the secretary please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Here. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Here. Assemblyman Gray. Assemblyman Hafen. Here. Assemblyman Hibbets. Here. Assemblyman Koenig. Here. Assemblywoman Newby. Assemblyman Wynn. Here. Assemblyman Orentlicher. Here. Assemblywoman Taylor. Present. Assemblywoman Thomas. Here. Chair Peters.
Thank you. I am here. Would you please mark Assemblyman Gray as present when he arrives? We have one bill hearing on the agenda today, and then we'll do public comment at the end. A couple of housekeeping items, just as a reminder to folks to please silence your electronic devices so we're not interrupting folks. I always need this reminder, so I don't even know what I did with my phone. If you see it at your desk, would you just let me know? I'm pretty sure it's already muted. Members of the public may provide testimony in a variety of ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to testifying or in lieu thereof. Written public comment may be submitted before, during, or up to 24 hours after the meeting's adjournment. If you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and leave a business card. If you do not testify, and you may also wish to sign in by the door, so we have a record of interested parties in the event that we'd like to get a hold of you. To ensure an orderly flow of discussion, all comments, questions, and responses must go through me. Also, committee members must be recognized before you may speak. Additionally, I ask our presenters on Zoom video call to leave your cameras off and your microphones muted until it's your turn to present or I direct any questions to you. When testifying in person, please turn the microphone on to speak and off to listen, because we have others listening. It can cause some reverb for us. With that, we'll move on to our agenda. Today we have an agency bill, Assembly Bill 463, presented by Miss Loper. Thank you so much for being here. Please remember to state your name for the record. When you speak, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Peters and Assembly members. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Carissa Loper, Agency Manager for the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. Assembly Bill 463 is being brought by the Department of Health and Human Services to transfer certain duties and authorities related to child care licensing and regulation from the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. This is a companion policy bill to accompany the transfer of the child care licensing budget account from the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. These transfers will align budget authorities and programmatic implementation and oversight for child care licensing activities under the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, which is the lead agency for administering the Child Care and Development Block Grant. This change will create administrative efficiencies by having one agency be responsible for the oversight and implementation of child care licensing activities. The administrative transition will not impact service delivery or communications with child care providers. The transfer will be seamless. In summary, Sections 1 through 4, Sections 6 through 8, Sections 11 and 12 make the necessary administrative changes in the Nevada revised statutes to transfer the authorities and duties of child care licensing and regulation to the administrator of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. Section 5 makes various changes to the membership categories of the Nevada Early Childhood Advisory Council to ensure proper representation from the appropriate Division of Welfare and Supportive Services staff and from Nevada's tribal community. As you may know, there is another bill, Assembly Bill 114, that also changes the membership of the council. We would like to ensure and will work with members to ensure that the added members in AB 463 are included should AB 114 also be enacted. So we will ensure those are reconciled to have no conflicts. Section 8 transfers the authority to enter facilities to conduct childcare licensing inspections from the Chief Medical Officer of the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to the Administrator of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. Section 8 also adds language to specify that a designee of the state fire marshal can be a local fire agency that meets a standard recognized by the state fire marshal, and it removes the requirement that the state fire marshal or their designee must inspect a child care facility every year. Sections 9 and 10 clarify that immunization coverage reports for child care facilities should continue to be submitted to the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and that summarizes the bill sections as they are written. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I am here to answer any of your questions regarding the bill.
Thank you so much. Assemblywoman Taylor has a question. Please let me know if you have other questions, committee members.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and so much of this certainly makes sense to me. I could follow it. It makes sense. That's good. But I was wondering why the change in the inspections of the facilities.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Taylor. Through you, Chair, to Assemblywoman Taylor. Specifically, the fire marshal inspections? Yes, ma'am. So although we inspect yearly right now, there's not a specific federal requirement for the period of time we need to inspect fire for fire safety. There are and will be initial fire inspections for any child care facility that is going to open for business as a requirement of opening for business. We will work with the state fire marshal and the child care licensing subject matter expert staff to ensure that we find a periodicity that works for all parties. We do not take fire safety lightly. However, other facilities regulated across the state do not receive an annual fire inspection, only when there's been a substantial change to the building size or the licensed capacity of the facility, or if child care licensing themselves, who enters facilities 2 times per year, sees something that makes them concerned.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I had a question related to the decision to modify this from the chief medical officer, and maybe you covered this, but you went kind of quickly through your presentation. So can you just go in a little bit further about why we're moving the inspections, annual inspections from the child care facilities from the chief medical officer into the Department of Welfare and Social Services, or the Division of Welfare and Social Services?
Yes, thank you for the question, Chair Peters. Carissa Loper for the record. So the changes to Section 8 are necessary in this case to ensure the complete transfer of legal authorities and duties from the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. As child care licensing staff become Division of Welfare and Supportive Services staff, we simply wanted to align the authority for their supervisory chain of who allows them to enter those facilities to conduct regular inspections from that lead person at Division of Public and Behavioral Health to the lead individual, the administrator of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services.
Thank you. Assemblyman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Administrator, for being here today. When was the last time anything that was changed? Let me rephrase that. Coffee hasn't kicked in yet. When was the last time we made changes to this particular section?
Through you, Chair, to Assemblyman Nguyen, Carissa Loper for the record. The last time we made changes to this Nevada revised statute section, I would have to go back and check with staff to give you that exact date.
Okay. Quick follow-up, Chair. And the reason I asked that is just you're making changes to the membership of this body, and in terms of why I asked that first question was that maybe that last time we made some changes, our state demographic has not shifted like the way we have had in the recent years, where there are diverse population in our state that may need some input at this advisory level. So I would encourage, if there hasn't been thought already, to include another board member that has experience or working with bilingual communities in terms of the licensing capacity for this particular department that you have.
Thank you, Sarah Carissa Loper, for the record. Understood, and we will, the other bill that I mentioned, Assembly Bill 114, does make other various membership changes to the Nevada Early Childhood Advisory Council. I will need a check within that. I do believe some diverse representation has also been added through AB 114, but we will take those comments and make sure we reconcile between the two bills.
Perfect. I look forward to seeing some of that. Thanks so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I think that the last time this membership was modified was 2019. Yeah, not too long ago. But things have changed a lot in those years, as we all know and have experienced. Are there any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into testimony. Thank you so much for your presentation today. We are going to go ahead and start with support testimony in our physical locations and then move to the phones. Is there anyone in Carson City who'd like to provide support testimony? Please come up to the desk. Remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Children's Cabinet, the statewide organization that deals with a lot of the child care related issues. We're very much in support of this administrative change, really, and seeing it move forward. There's been a lot of talk of this movement over to the new division for some time, and we're very much in support. We also appreciate the fact that Ms. Loper is willing to look at Ms. Thomas's Bill AB 114 as far as the membership of the ECAC, so that there is some consistency. And thank you, Mr. Nguyen. We will definitely take those into consideration as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no one else come up to the desk today in Carson City, we'll move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas who'd like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 463? Seeing no one approach the desk, I'd ask BPS to check the public line for support testimony on Assembly Bill 463.
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 463, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We will go ahead and move into opposition testimony. If there's anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas who'd like to provide opposition testimony, you may come up to the desk. Seeing none in Carson City and seeing none in Las Vegas, BPS, would you check the public line for opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 463?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 463, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We'll move into neutral testimony. Is there anyone who'd like to provide neutral testimony in Carson City or Las Vegas? Please come up to the desk and remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mike Dezak, and I am your state fire marshal. We are neutral on this. We wanted to bring some information to the committee before any decisions were made. We've met with DHHS, I believe it's February 22nd, talked about some of these things. But the language problem, the first, which removes the annual fire inspection requirement, actually comes from NAC 477562 Section B that says each facility must be inspected for compliance with applicable fire and safety regulations by the authority having jurisdiction before a license to operate the facility is issued. The facility must be inspected annually thereafter and have a current certificate of compliance issued by the authority having jurisdiction. So if the will of the legislature is to do that, we'd have to go back and just make regulation changes to that or remove it. Either way, we're okay. The other issue is with the national certification. The problem is that there's only one national certification for a fire department that we're aware of, and that is through the Center for Public Safety Excellence, and it is the Fire Accreditation International, the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. To our knowledge, we have only 3 fire departments in the state that are accredited through that entity, that is Fallon Naval Air Station, City of Henderson, and Boulder City. What I think would be more helpful, and I'm more than happy to work with the bill sponsors, is something to the order of I can provide an annually updated list of fire departments that we would be comfortable accepting their reports if that's the again the will of the legislature. We would have to clarify with DHHS what occurs, because the way this inspections happen right now is that the child care requests the inspection. So if we're going to go to other jurisdictions that, I don't know whether they've reached out to them, if they want to do the inspection, how much is their inspection going to cost, that they would have to do that. We didn't want to take the burden on of trying to find wherever the facility is that go into that authority having jurisdiction to say, do you want to do it? Yeah, yes, no. And then what happens? Am I still issuing the certificate of compliance under the authority of the fire marshal, or are they accepting it? Is DHHS going to take that back? So we just like some clarifications moving forward, because we're pretty steeped in this. So just to be prudent.
Would you mind if we ask questions?
Of course.
Okay. I have a question. Committee members, if you have other questions, please feel free to jump in. Sue, first of all, I believe that the way this is stated in Section 2, Section 8, subsection 2, is that you can develop regulations. So you can retain the regulations the way that they are with the annual requirement. This just gives you some more discretion on how frequently those inspections are conducted. So that will go through the regulatory process if you do choose to modify those, but I don't think that it would require a modification on the get-go. And maybe I'd ask legal if maybe I'm overstepping my bounds, but it sounds like, to me, the way I read it, that's what it sounds like. The other question I had, though, is related to the fire agencies that you'd be willing to accept reports from. Do you have standing MOUs or other operational agreements in place with those entities that maybe we could reference instead of just calling out other local entities? And additionally, I think that the language may also say include and that accredits in accordance with regulations adopted by the board. So you could limit who those local fire agencies may be through some of that. We just may need to address the accredited by national organization language. But if you have a response to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Mike Dezak, State Fire Marshal. Yes and no. Yes, we have interlocal agreements with many of those counties. We have our regulations apply throughout the state, but our ability to enforce them does not extend to Clark County, Washoe County, and Carson City. So we generally don't keep interlocals with them. Some of the other issues that we would have is certain entities that we have interlocal agreements with for things like plan review. They don't have certified fire inspectors. So we would want to make sure that the places that we're going to do it have ICC certified inspectors. It's one thing for a fire department to inspect stuff on their own and take that liability along with that, but if it's going to come back to the state, we want to make sure that all those jurisdictions have it. And we would, no matter what happens, we're happy to assist DHHS in the inspection process where they want us. If they request us, we'll get out there. We just have to make sure we're getting everything right the first time.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I see some notes being taken, so hopefully we can come up with some solution and that on that piece. Are there any other questions for the fire marshal today? Thank you so much for entertaining our questions.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time today. Please state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
All right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Hannah Fahmy, Hanafahmi. I am testifying on behalf of Children's Advocacy Alliance in neutral on AB 463. It's CAA's understanding that nothing in this bill conflicts with Early Childhood Advisory Council's membership being discussed in another assembly bill making its way through the legislative process. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else approaching for neutral testimony in Carson City or Las Vegas, I'd ask BPS to check the public line for neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 463.
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 463, Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Denise Tanada. I'm currently the chair of the Nevada Early Childhood Advisory Council. I just wanted to provide a few remarks since the Advisory Council is referenced in this bill. Although we don't have any official position on the bill, we just wanted to say in regard to Section 5, we don't really have any concerns with the changes that are listed there. We just want to ensure that in final language in the Nevada Revised Statute aligns with AB 114. So I appreciate Ms. Loper's comments regarding that. In reviewing the bill, we really only see two differences. The current legislation would have two representatives from the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, one from licensing and one from the Child Care Development Program, which is also not an issue. We actually currently have two appointed, both of those agencies are appointed representatives on the Early Childhood Advisory Council right now, so that would just codify that in statute. The other difference that we're seeing between the language is regarding the tribal representative. It's just slightly different language, and the Nevada Early Childhood Advisory Council is actually fine with either way that that's written. So we, like I say, don't really have a position on the bill. We just want to make sure that there's alignment between AB 114, those provisions regarding the Early Childhood Advisory Council membership. And also just want to take the time to thank those members who voted for passage of AB 114 out of the Assembly today. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. BPS, are there other callers on the line?
There are no other callers on the line at this time.
Thank you. I would invite the division representatives for final comment today.
Madam Chair, for the record, Marla McDade Williams, Deputy Director of Programs for the Department of Health and Human Services. Before Ms. Loper goes, I just wanted to briefly address the State Fire Marshal language. As the State Fire Marshal indicated, we did participate in a discussion back in February. Our intent was to eliminate the statutory requirement for an annual inspection, and then to defer to the State Fire Marshal on the agencies that are the most appropriate to do those inspections. So however this language gets worked out, that was our intent, not to do anything independent from the State Fire Marshal. Thank you.
Carissa Loper, for the record, I just want to thank you all for your time and the opportunity to present on this bill today, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you, and thank you for the clarification on that. I think we can work towards some solutions in that area. Appreciate your presentation today. We'll go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 463 and move into our final agenda item today, public comment. We are limiting public comment to 2 minutes. We will begin in our physical locations and go to the phones following those. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to provide public comment today? Seeing no one in Carson City, Las Vegas, is there anyone who would like to provide public comment today in Las Vegas? Seeing no one approaching the desk, BPS, would you check the public line for public comment today?
The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of public comment agenda item. Are there any other comments from the committee before we adjourn? I have not agendized us for Friday, and unless we have we hear from the agencies with bills out of the Senate that they can attend Friday's meeting, we will likely not have committee on Friday. We will likely have committee on Monday and Wednesday next week, however, so keep your eye out for those agendas. With that, we are adjourned.